I'm Mary Santos, and I'm the Student Mentoring Specialist in the Center for Equity and Inclusion. I oversee the STEPS and SSMP mentoring programs, and actually I'm a graduate of the UW-Tacoma campus and got my undergraduate degree in social welfare.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Did you have a different path in mind when you were younger,
Um,
career-wise?
Good question. I had no clear path in mind. I didn't have a lot of direction when I was younger. So in high school, I really struggled with my education and trying to kind of figure out what it was like for me as a student, who I was as a student. And then when I finally kind of got my game together and I was ready to get back into college, I did community college at TCC for too many years, and then ultimately ended up here at UW in social work, mentoring programs. This was not at all where I saw my life going. I think in the very beginning I thought about a career in the legal field, and that just didn't pan out. So.
That's fine. So can you tell us a little bit about your college experience and how you got here today?
Yeah. Like I said, I kind of struggled a lot in high school trying to figure that out. I did Running Start, and I knew that I liked the college environment more than I liked my high school environment. But I just didn't really have anybody to help me answer a lot of questions. I'm a first generation student, so my parents were not able to give me very specific advice. They of course encouraged me, but they couldn't answer specific questions about like, what is one credit, or like things like, should I take 15 credits or not? So it was hard to get into a college system, but once I did, I found that what made my college experience better was having a community of people. My family it was really hard because it was kind of a catch-22. They really wanted me to go to college, but then when I finally got to college, they didn't really understand what that was going to mean, right? And like the severity, the implications of having a young child who's in college means that they're not going to be as contributing as highly as maybe they thought they once did. So I think my time was spent obviously on campus, and then I had an internship as well. So I was really trying to make it out to see my parents, 2 or 3 times a week, but that's hard. And then I just didn't keep friendships up very well either. If they weren't in my cohort, then I didn't really have a lot of time to hang out with other people. So I was trying to be really steadfast and very focused on just getting through my education.
Wow.
That's a good question. Well, you heard me speak in your class, so
Yes.
Really, I think this space, right, the center. When I was a student here, it was the Diversity Resource Center, and it was a place where I volunteered as a student mentor with the STEPS program, and then in my last year here, I worked as a student assistant with the mentoring program, and this was like the highlight of my day. Class can be really hard to get through some days, and for many of us who, especially in like the social work program, that was hard. It was hard emotionally and mentally. It was taxing, and so to come to a place on campus where I could just I could be myself, I could talk to people about all of the difficult things I was learning and not have to explain why life was currently hard, that was probably the highlight for me. Yeah.
Was there something that helped you push yourself?
Yeah, I think you'd kind of alluded to it earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was all of the other people who I knew had done this before me. I looked to my family so much for some motivation in my life in other places. I knew like looking for a job was going to be hard, but I had heard stories from my parents about how hard it was for them to look for jobs, and so it was kind of hard and heartbreaking when you know that you can't look to your family for like direct support with college. But knowing that I met other people who were first generation students, and learning about like the history of people of color and communities of color to get toward an education, that just kind of overall was inspiring to me.
Wow. What advice do you have for someone who's trying to figure out their career, or anyone who hasn't decided yet?
People who are undecided, I think the first piece of advice is to remain calm and believe in yourself. It's so hard to like think that you don't know what you're going to do. We want to be in control all the time, and to feel out of control and feel like you can't predict what's going to happen next. How are you going to provide for yourself and your family? What do you do with a college degree? Those are heavy questions that Look at the places where you visit often. Maybe that's churches, or maybe that's like social groups, or restaurants that you eat at. I mean, it could be endless, but just like if you see somebody doing something that you think you have any interest in doing, it can be hard, especially when you're first gen, right? To like be so bold as to like approach somebody and say like, hey, I think I might want to do what you're doing. Can you tell me about it? That's really nerve-wracking. So if there are people who you trust, like maybe finding a mentor, and it doesn't have to be, obviously it's a self-serving, we have programs to help you find a mentor, but if it's not with an on-campus mentoring program, anywhere else where you can like practice those skills and approaching people for conversation, I think would